Sonic the Hedgehog 1 on the Sega Mega Drive. Oh, this is a nostalgia trip for many. It's crazy to think that this game turns 28 years old in 2019. That is just mind-blowing. Considering how long Sonic's been out with all of his flops and all of his major successes for the gaming industry and his franchise as a whole, it is very clear to see that over the years his quality has definitely degraded, but in some cases and very little cases upgraded tremendously. But before we look over all of Sonic's downfalls and then re-rises just to fall down again, we're going to take a trip back in time to take a look at where he first started out on a tiny little Sega console known as the Sega Mega Drive, or Genesis if you live in the US, with a game simply known as Sonic the Hedgehog. Sit back and enjoy, everyone, as we take a look at Sonic's first ever outing. So the story in this game is very simple. You have your Greenlands and your marble gardens or whatnot, and you have an evil man in the area known as Dr. Robotnik, who's going around capturing the wild woodland creatures and is turning them into his own robot army known as the Badniks. So we take control of Sonic, which is the hero of the game, and he has to go and collect all 6, yes 6, not 7, because the light blue one's not in this game for some reason. You know, probably because Sega didn't want to go full Dragon Ball Z on us, if you know what I'm saying. And it's his job to go and collect them all, to power himself up to go and defeat Dr. Robotnik and release his woodland friends from the robotic bodies that they now possess and save the day. So as you can tell, the story is quite basic, but that's all it is because it's a game released in 1991, so we can't expect big cinematic masterpieces like we get today with games such as Until Dawn or Detroit Become Human. But maybe I'll talk about those games another day, but for now we're focusing on Sonic. But regardless of that, the gameplay is kind of like Mario, because the inspiration for this game's mechanics was because when the game's developer Yuji Naka was playing through the original Super Mario Bros. And got a game over and he had to go back through all the previous levels to reach to where he was again, he found himself doing it faster and faster each time because he just wanted to get there as fast as he could, which when he wanted to create a game and a mascot for Sega, it inspired him to make Sonic speedy, because if we didn't have a slow character and we had fast-paced gameplay with some intuitive platforming and beautiful 16-bit graphics at the time, this game would surely be a hit, and he was right. This is one of the biggest gaming franchises to date and is one of the most well-known games of all time. They created something amazing from taking inspiration from Nintendo and the mechanics due to the limited features of the consoles back in the day, which is quite amazing, to be honest, and it's quite the inspiring story because it really shows even if you don't have very many original ideas, you can easily just magpie, as I like to say, as well as my English teacher does, which basically means you can borrow their idea but change it so it's, you know, not as similar. You know, it's like when you copy that one kid's homework but you just change it so you don't get noticed. It's basically like that for this game. And the controls, oh man, this game controls extremely well. There's no run button like there is in the original Super Mario Bros., which makes the gameplay more defined. It makes it faster than what we're used to from back in the day. And also it just makes it more fun in general because the jumping physics are fantastic in this game. They go really well with Sonic's weight and also the way that you use momentum to build up speed by using the roll ability to smash into enemies or go down hills. It just makes the game's mechanic of speed so much more impressive than what you actually do by just running forward on foot by holding right. But even if you're just holding forward on right, there's very little input delay, it's very snappy and very responsive, and it's just a lot of fun because you're not going slow at any times apart from Labyrinth Zone, but we'll get onto that in a minute. And the rest of it is just so fun, honestly. This game controls really well, but there's only one thing that's missing, which I'm pretty sure everyone knows by now, which is Sonic's now signature spin dash. The only reason it's not here in this game is, well, I don't know actually, but it's just a design choice from a game stance, because obviously back then Sonic was a brand new IP and they didn't know if it was going to do well or not, so they just equipped him with what they thought would have done, and then that did the trick. And then in its big brother and its next couple of games, he took on the spin dash as his trademark move, other than jumping and spinning and shit. But the spin dash is now an iconic move to Sonic, but it wasn't back then because it simply just wasn't a part of his moveset, because it was too early on and they just didn't have any other ideas apart from just pressing down to roll. But regardless to spin dash or no, this game controls absolutely fantastically. It's absolutely brilliant. It's so satisfying. Now let's talk about the levels in this game. Even though there's not many of them, there's 6 to be precise, with 3 zones, or should I say 3 acts in each zone. There are still some pretty solid levels in this game, and I'm going to go through them really quickly and say what's good about what. So first, you have the very, very recognizable and iconic green hill zones. Not because it's been rehashed in every Sonic game up to this point, Sega, please stop doing that, but simply because this is what most people grew up with other than World 1-1, because that's just as iconic. For some reason, it's just really fucking bland. But this is vibrant, it's fast, speedy. It gives you a very, very perfect introduction to the game on how to control Sonic and everything else. It's just a blast to play through Green Hill Zone. No matter how many times it gets reused in the later games, going back to the original is always a lot of fun, because you know you've got some solid level design with some fast-paced platforming and also high-speed action, as well as a great tutorial level that doesn't even need to say anything to get you used to the mechanics. It's just there. You teach yourself, and it's not hard at all. It's a nice first level that anyone can just pick up and play. Next up, you have Marble Zone, which is a much slower paced level in comparison to Green Hill Zone, but I find it quite fun. Like, it's a very unpopular opinion within the Sonic fanbase to call Marble a good level, but I wouldn't say it's a good level. It's just something I enjoy playing because it's not only got one of my favourite songs in the entire Sonic franchise to accompany this level, but also when it gets fast I really enjoy it, and it's a nice platforming challenge because Sonic 1 wasn't really much of a platforming challenge up until Marble Zone, and then potentially I'd say Spring Yard Zone as well, but this zone introduced the main gimmick of platforming, because this is a platformer after all and not a racing game, unlike Sonic R, but that's for a later video. But yeah, Marble. I really enjoy this zone. Even though it's it's not a nice change of pace, I'll be honest with you, it's very sluggish, but not as sluggish as a certain level. But it's a nice platforming challenge. It's not too difficult apart from number 3, because Marble 3 is actually slightly difficult and it's very easy to fuck up here and there. But it's still a good level by any means of the imagination. It's not a bad level, it's just a change of pace that isn't welcome to most people. But in my eyes, it's a decent level that gets you into this game's platforming, whether it be hard or not. Next up, we have my personal favourite level, Spring Yard Zone. Now, Spring Yard is amazing in many ways, not just because of the music that accompanies it, but also the challenge it possesses. Compared to Marble Zone, this isn't a challenge of platforming skills, this is a challenge on how well you can manage your speed in the game. Because unlike Marble, this is a very momentum heavy level similar to Green Hill Zone. You have to not just hold right the entire time, but when you see the opportunity to pass by a hill and roll down it, or use a spring to your advantage, or anything else in the environment, you must use that to your advantage to clear parts of this level and get the faster time. Because if you don't take that to your advantage, then you're not going to get a good time on this level, and it might take you a while and turn into a slugfest. But other than that, this is a really fast paced level which I really, really enjoy. It's really fun, it's really fast, upbeat, and everything about it is just pretty stunning, to be honest with you. It's not the most, it's not the most exciting level in the game, judging by its appearance, but the appearance doesn't mean much when you're having fun with the gameplay, because that's what I'm here to talk about, the gameplay, not the appearance, because the game's quite old, and from when it came out, this game does look gorgeous in pretty much every level, other than a certain level, but we'll get more on that later. But back to Spring Yard. The only thing that slows this level down for me is these big cubes that you have to just stand on, and they push up and down. Now, while you can avoid them in Act 1 and 2, because if you take the high route, which is the shortcut, you can just completely bypass them. It's compulsory in Act 3, which is a little bit annoying considering the time it delays you. But it's nothing too bad. It doesn't take forever like I'd expect it to. It's just a nice quick little break, if you can call it that, even though this level isn't difficult by any means. It's just a nice distraction. Spring Yard Zone's pretty fun, and it's definitely solid in terms of its level design. Oh dear. Labyrinth Zone. What is there to say about this point? Everyone's already addressed it. This is the worst level in the whole game. Not because of its ugly design, no. Because it completely strips Sonic of everything he's known for, being speed. Because this is an underwater level, because back then the gimmick was have a forest level, have a water level, have a fire level, have a snow level, blah blah blah, have a robot level. It's just one of those things where you just have to stick to one scheme of things, which is present in almost every game. And while Super Mario Bros. Did its water level pretty decently, because not only was it not that slow, but also it didn't have too many difficult enemies to deal with, this does it very poorly. even though it sets the standards for what water music should be, even though that was highly improved on in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. This is a bore. Honestly, it's not like Pumba. This is boring. All you have to do is hold right and jump over a couple of obstacles. Whilst, here's the main catch, you have air. Unlike Super Mario, where you can just stay underwater for as long as you want in the original game, instead of, like you can in Mario 64 or Odyssey, because Mario isn't invincible in those games, unlike he is in the original. Sonic can drown, which means you cannot stay underwater for as long as 30 seconds, I think it is, because when you get that, because when you're 10 seconds left in that 30-second time space, might be 20, I don't really know, you start to hear the worst possible music ever. It's not a bad song by any means. It's just very, very intense, and it gets your heart pumping, and it makes you start to panic to the point where you'll choke, and then you'll end up drowning and throwing the controller and breaking your TV. It's just not fun. And then the third act can go and kiss my ass, especially with its boss fight. All you have to do is chase Eggman through a vertical tunnel whilst avoiding a lot of bullshit traps. It's just not fun at all. Labyrinth is an awful zone, and I have no idea why it even exists. But this was going to be level 2 at one point, so I'm not complaining about it being level 4. It's still a bug level that I really do not like. Now here's a personal favourite to many, many people in the Sonic community. Most people love Starlight Zone, and I do too. It's a very pretty level, and it goes back to what Green Hill Zone refined, as well as Spring Yard. Fast-paced gameplay that builds up your momentum. It's just so fun. And a lot of people say this is the best song in the game as well, but I disagree. I think it's the second best. You know, Marble Zone being first in my opinion, because I'm special. But like Starlight Zone has absolutely top Green Hill Zone and Spring Yard Zone. If I ever say to you Spring Yard Zone is the best level in the game, I'm lying. It's Starlight Zone, because it's a nice breather, because you go through Labyrinth Zone and then you get this, which is basically another Green Hill Zone, because it's fast, it's fun, it's got good music, and it's easy. Like, considering this is the 5th level in the game out of a possible 6, it's very, very easy. And I'm not complaining, because it just makes it all the more fun. Even though I do like a good challenge in my game, Starlight Zone makes it so it's not too hard or not too easy, and so you can still have the perfect amount of fun. This is easily the best zone in the game, and it's got many reasons to be so. Here's a level I also have a problem with. Scrap Brain Zone is the final series of level in the game, and it is not very good, to be honest. It's got the same case of bad that Marble Zone has. It just takes the entire gimmick of speed and turns it into a platformer, a full-on platformer. While this isn't necessarily a bad thing, because it is what Sonic is supposed to be, a high-speed platformer, it takes away all of his speed like it did in Labyrinth Zone and Marble Zone, and the level just looks very ugly. I mean, the music's pretty decent, I'll give it that, but the music's good in basically every Sonic game at this point, so I'm not even going to be able to talk about the music most of the time. But going back to level design, this level consists of many, many long hallways with some bullshit enemies and these bullshit red things which just either collapse or just slide. This level is full of traps and can cause many, many unfair deaths. It's not a fun level, but it is. But if you're trying to speedrun it, then good luck. You're gonna have to practice this level quite a lot, because of these spinning platforms in particular as well. These just piss me right off, because one imprecise movement, you are not coming back. And you've got collapsing bridges, these little fuckers on these little things that you have to go up or down. It's just not much fun. Oh, and also the third act is a fucking joke. It's basically Labyrinth Zone Act 4.
What do you mean?
Well, that's a very appropriate title. Yeah, this is the last level in the game. Basically, you're stuck in a small room with Eggman as he tries to crush you with these 4 pillar things. And it's pathetic. It's not even hard. It's one of the easiest boss fights in the game. And it's quite underwhelming, because all you have to do is dodge these things as he comes down and smack him while he's in it, then dodge these lasers, which at first you might think it's difficult because, oh no, I've got no rings and they lock onto me. Nah, they're just really slow paced. They're slower than Sonic is in Labyrinth Zone, so it's very easy to just dodge them. You can either go to the left or the right or jump through them, which is the easiest strategy, because you can just easily get Eggman after it instead of having to run to the other side of the screen and potentially miss him. So for a final boss, this is a joke. But on the topic of bosses, let's talk about those. Yeah, the first boss isn't any better than the rest. It's basically just hit Eggman while he's coming down, because you can do that for some reason in the original game, which is quite cheap, I'll be honest. And then he swings this plastic Miley Cyrus Wrecking Ball toy at you, and you just gotta jump over his chain and smack his Eggmobile, whatever it's called, until he blows up. That's it, that's your boss, enjoy it. It's not hard at all, and it's quite a joke, but it's the first boss, so you gotta cut it some slack. But all things considered, it's nothing special. Marble Zone's boss is definitely better than Green Hill Zone's, while it's definitely more challenging. The design of it I'm not too much of a fan of. Basically, you just stood on these two platforms, and while Robotnik comes around shooting down these fireballs which will ignite up the platform that you're stood on, all you have to do is just dodge it and smack him when he's coming closer. That's it. It does pose more of a challenge and more of a threat than the previous boss does, but again, it's nothing really special. Spring Yard Zone's boss fight isn't anything special either. It's basically the same premise as the last one, other than instead of shooting fireballs down at you, he tries to spike you down with a spike. And you have to lure him into the blocks to try and make him pick them up so you can hit him whilst he's diving. But it also annoys you because you can see his sprite bobbing up and down, and while sometimes you can get the hit in, other times it won't let you, so you're just like an absolute idiot just trying to hit him whilst it makes you think that you can't. But it definitely is possible. If anything, it's just more of a pain. As you might be expecting, Labyrinth Zone also has the worst boss fight in the whole game. It involves you climbing this big vertical tunnel whilst avoiding spikes, fire, these drill bots, and also a few other obstacles. And if you die here, there is no recovery at all, because if you die and then come back, you're going to get no rings, and you have to scale the first half of it before you can even get the shield power up, which even then that might not be enough to protect you because of all the bullshit. Because not only do you have to try and fight Eggman whilst going up this tunnel, you also have to avoid the fire, the spikes, the rising water, the drops which are very easy to fall down. It's just pants, honestly. This isn't even classed as a boss fight, it's more of a chase sequence. And it's not a very good one either, because not only do you have the water slowing you down 24/7, also trying to avoid spikes and the fire whilst you're in a rush is something that is just never ever been an easy task. It's just very tedious. It's not a good boss fight by any means, and it's very boring. Again, this boss fight isn't anything special or anything to gush over. All you need to do is let Eggman go back and forward on the screen and drop these spiky bowl things onto these seesaws, which if you wait too long, pellets will explode out of them, so be careful. You have to let him drop them on, so you can either fling yourself upwards to hit him, or use yourself to fling up the mines and let them hit him. Again, 8 hits is all it takes, and it's nothing special, just very easy fight. It's kind of a breather as well compared to the final boss fight and the other ones, but it's just nothing great, to be honest with you. Scrap Brain doesn't even have a boss. It uses its boss fight opportunity to throw you down into the depths of the third act to suffer in what is basically Labyrinth Act 4. There's no boss fight, so if it doesn't care, then why should I? And with everything being said, that concludes Sonic 1. Now, what do I think of this game? It's really good. Now, it shows some of the best uses of a game's physics engine in a long time. And it's really another step up for the game industry because it features some fancier 16-bit graphics in a very gorgeous style with a good soundtrack, and people on the team of development, they really knew what they was doing with this game. They seem to be experienced game designers who know what they're doing and wanted to make an IP for Sega, and succeeded, put shots through the roof, and outranked Mario in so many ways. Sonic became an icon after his second game, and it's no wonder to see why this game was such a success. It's a perfect start to a series, and also one of the best games on the Sega Genesis. So, Sonic the Hedgehog 1, even despite its flaws and everything else, I'll give it a 7.5 out of 10. It's pretty fucking good. So with that being said, thank you all so much for watching the first episode of the Sonic Retrospective. I hope you did enjoy. Leave a like if you did, and in the comments below let me know what you think of Sonic 1. Do you think it was a step in the right direction, or do you think it was a complete misfit for the Sega Genesis and it was a mistake? And that everything that happened in this game was an accident which led to Sonic's success? Because everyone thinks that these days because they're just assholes, I guess. But other than that, thank you for watching the video. Subscribe if you're new, and be sure to hit the bell icon so you'll never miss another video of mine. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care and have a wonderful day.